The Royal Irish, as you know rightly, completely fucked up in the past. Sierra Leone was a complete disaster. Brad was killed in the middle of trying to rescue the Royal Irish, and our name was in the gutter after that. We were heading out onto the road, and I was in the rear wagon, and I heard a gunshot, and then I heard another gunshot, and I heard another gunshot. These stories got back to his mother, that his commander sat and watched his son die and didn't do anything. Part of his skull came off. The other guy beside me, the shot went to his back, and part of his abdomen was hanging out the front. The truth is, I went into shock. My arm was shaking. My hand never stopped shaking for 2 days after that.
On this episode of the Elite Podcast, I speak to Trevor Coult, former Royal Irish Regiment, Military Cross recipient and military author. Trevor, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. It's good to see you, Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. Well, I spoke on your podcast. How long was that? A few months ago. But we actually known each other. We found out when we spoke then that we've actually known each other for 30 years. Is it 30 years? What was it?
Yes, and that was a coincidence. I mean, if you remember, I met you by a complete coincidence, and that was because a good friend of mine was a good friend of yours, Stevie Cromie.
Yeah.
And I think at the time we were in training, me and Stevie, and he took us back to meet Shell. He took us back to Telford for a long weekend. And me and Stevie were involved in a car crash. Must have been a Friday night. He drove around the corner too fast, and the car went on its side and went along the road on its side. And we were on our way. We were actually on our way to pick up Shell's babysitter to mind the twins. And he just looked at me and he went, "What the fuck do we do now?" I went, "Well, we're going to have to get her a taxi." And he was like, "What about the night out?" I says, "Well, I'm all right. Are you all right?" And we just sat at the end of we just got off and sat on the hill, and he lit a cigarette up and he went, "Yeah, I'll get my dad to pick us up." And we went to the nightclub that night, and he kept saying he had a friend called Legs, which I now know was your old nickname. And I went, "Bullshit, mate. No, he's a kickboxer. He's fucking world champion. He can get his legs straight up." And I went, "Bullshit. There's no way." And we were in the club, and he introduced me to you. He says, "Go on, Legs, mate. Show him." And you put your foot up. And you actually did something, and I think you actually did some sort of roundhouse type thing to demonstrate to Stevie what you could do. And I think you hit somebody by mistake, and you just scurried away. But you were different build then. You were quite skinny back then. Yeah.
Oh, I was extremely skinny back then, yeah. So, I was very skinny. Just legs. I was just tall and skinny with long legs. But Cromie, rest in peace as well. Obviously, Cromie passed away, didn't he, some time ago. But that was his connections because he joined the same regiment as you, which was it Royal Irish Rangers when you joined? Or is it Royal Irish Rangers now? It's what's...
Royal Irish, it was the Royal Irish Regiment. The Royal Irish Regiment,
yeah.
It used to be the Royal Irish Rangers up until 1992, I believe, and then it emerged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we joined in 94, but it was the Royal Irish Regiment then, yeah.
Oh, so when you joined, it already transitioned, had it, and changed. Yeah, they started making quite a lot of changes, didn't they, with the regiments. But what is good is that regiment is still intact somewhat. It's still intact, and it got changed to Royal Irish Regiment from Royal Irish Rangers, but it's still very much its own regiment, isn't it, compared to some of them. A lot of the infantry regiments just got all mashed together.
Mate, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, to be fair, the number twos, the uniform, the number twos look shit. The whole army wears the same. It looks pathetic. It doesn't look good. It only looks... The only thing you have now as identity is your headdress, and that's it. But I don't know why they did it, but they let the Royal Irish Regiment keep their Piper green trousers rather than the jacket and trousers, the khaki jacket and trousers. So it's got its own identity. It's the only regiment left. There's a few TA part-time regiments in Northern Ireland still, but it's I think working with the parachute regiment on the Herricks and the Air Assault helped sort of cement it. It's yours. Helped cement it to stay there because the Royal Irish, as you know rightly, completely fucked up in the past. Sierra Leone was a complete disaster, and Brad was killed in the middle of trying to rescue the Royal Irish. It was a clusterfuck, Sierra Leone, for the Royal Irish. And our name was in the gutter after that. In the gutter. And it wasn't until we got Tim Collins to take over and don't get me wrong, he had his ups and downs, but, he was all about the troops. He came back pissed off, and I remember him getting the battalion on parade in Canterbury and Howe Barracks, and he called out the names of commanders that were involved in that Sierra Leone deployment, and he sacked them all on the spot.
Really?
Sacked them all. You've embarrassed me, you've embarrassed this unit. It's going to take years to fix the shit that you've done. And he got rid of them all, and he tried to... We then went to the Gulf War with... we basically were mirroring... Were we mirroring two-para? I think it was two-para at the time, going back. We kept leapfrogging each other the whole way through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Each CO going off on a tangent, trying to find their own individual battles, and we never found any, let's be honest. But the only battle that we had in 2003... Sorry, that's a lie. The only battle that I know of in 2003, apart from the US that were up doing all the fighting, was we had the Marines doing a few things around on Qatar and stuff. But you also had the catastrophe that happened to the guys from Tupara in Alamara. They lost a few people in insurgency, sort of flooded them, and yeah, that was a terrible thing to happen. We had just left, actually, Alamara, and I think they got killed along with RMP. So that for me was the worst thing that happened then. But we've been extremely lucky, Royal Irish. We work extremely hard to fix our shitty reputation after Sierra Leone, and we embedded a hand-picked platoon from the battalion to go and work with 3-para. I actually went to 3-para to the barracks in Colchester and lived in C Company block.
Okay. So you embedded with them first, pre-deployment, then to get established with the blokes and everything. Yeah.
Well, what our unit did, our RCO wanted a platoon which could hold their own against elite paratroopers. I'm not saying I'm elite, far from it, but he wanted. I was fit, so he picked Spency, P Company trained, Ian Gaddy, P Company trained, another P Company. He picked all the ones that he thought would fit in, and then he picked the ones which were fucking lunatics like me that would fit in, along with your lunatics. And we all had to be fit. So whenever we went out, whenever we drove to Colchester, we met Mick Bolton, our Sergeant Major, and Paddy Blur. We met him as C Company OC, and we got to meet the personalities. And we couldn't believe it, the amount of stuff that the Paras had, because we went to the QMs and we were all thinking, fuck me, they've given us all para helmets, they've given us all the Gucci stuff, GPS. We got given everything so that we had everything we needed. Your QMs looked after us very well, actually. And C Company was a decent company, mate. We got on well. We fitted in. I remember playing fucking stupid games drunk with the guys at C Company. You had a guy called Denny Danovich or something.
Yeah. The Polish descent. I think he was on the documentary. Men at War.
Yeah.
Was it Men at War?
Lunatic
one? Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I know him, Denny. He's good guy.
I remember coming back from night out drinking, and we went into the room in the block, and there was him and a couple of others. A jock guy with gingery hair. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. But there was a few guys in there, and I says, "He's drinking. What do you want, Hat?" I says, "I want to fucking drink." And I sat down with them, and they were playing Pass the Punch. Pricks.
Yeah.
Who did I have to punch? Danny. I just joined him and I'll play. And I smacked him. And he went, what the fuck? And he smacked me back. He says, you got a problem? And he just thought there's something wrong with you, Colt, because I went, no, I thought that was the game we were playing. And he went, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I got to know him quite well. But I enjoyed the teamwork, and there's a sense of unhingedness with the paratrooper. There's a sense of that, but there's also a lunatic which will run into gunfire to help their mate, and that's what I enjoyed, that part of it. So yeah, we've been off on a tangent here, but I really enjoyed my time in Colchester. But there for about maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks, and then we went out to Oman to do learning how to call in faster and getting all the elements working together. That was pretty cool. And then we left Oman and we came back to Colchester. And I think within a week we flew into Camp Bastion, and there was nothing there. It was just 9 by 9, 5 or 6 tents, but nothing there. It was shit. Yeah.
Just want to clarify the year of that, just for anyone that's listening as well, and how old you were at the time.
That was 2006. It always baffled me to have a Herrick 4, but to be the very first ever Herrick, because it changed from a different operation, and it went straight to Herrick 4. But Herrick 2006. How Jesus? I'd have been 30, 32.
And what rank were you at the time then?
I was a full screw session commander.
Okay, brilliant, great, best job in the British Army. Yeah, the
perfect rank.
Yeah, good age as well. So you got a few years under your belt as well, especially joining at such a young age. So you're pretty senior, well, pretty much as senior as you can get for a full screw, really. You must have been naughty a few times then.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. In the Royal Irish, I was known as the guy that was super fit. I was a decent commander. Wasn't the best. Could hold my own as a commander, but I was also a dickhead on alcohol. And the night I came back from up Herrick, I left in that. Where was I at the time? Oh, because I was working on ITC. This is a whole can of worms you're opening up here. I was working on ITC. I got sent there after junior bracken to learn to be a commander. So I got sent there as a full screw. And I went to the Surge in Barrybudden as a session commander, and I went there for a while. And then the minute I hit Barrybudden to start off teaching as a new instructor, Gulf War kicked off 2003, and I was fuming. And I got on the phone to Duty BD, and I'm like, mate, sir, can I get that? Any chance to come back? He goes, you can't come back. You don't belong to us anymore. You belong to ITC. And I went, nah, bollocks and shit. Listen, how can I, and I started playing the old game, how can I teach recruits what it's like to be in war if I've never done it? I can't teach this type of stuff if I haven't done it. And I played that card, and he went, and then I managed to get through to Tim Collins a few days later. Any chance? He goes, Trevor Coult, you belong to the ATC. I believe the RSM told you. And I went, yep. He says, well, I'll tell you what, Trevor Coult, we're not allowed to ask you to come back, but it would be great if you did come back because we are short of session commanders. He says, but I'm not allowed to tell you to come back. But it'd be great if you did come back. And I went, I logged that.
I read between the lines. Yeah. Did you?
No, listen, I tried everything. I had a platoon filled of diverse people. And I had a guy come into me, young lad, and a young lad of a different descent, let's say. And I said, do me a favour, buddy. He went, what is it? What is it, Corporal? Go see the platoon commander and tell him I called you a blacksmith. Just tell him that. So he went in, Coult's being racist. He called me and he goes, what did you say? I says, that's just how I talk. And he was like, stop fucking about, go. I know what you're up to. And I couldn't do it. I tried. So the one thing that I did do was I tried everything. And I went, what the fuck? I'm trying to get back to here. Anyway, so I went out to Barrybudden. Now bear in mind, some of my platoon young lads, when I say young lads, some are like 26, 27. So they weren't kids. So I had two guys which were of drinking age, and I took them out of camp. And I took them to the pub right outside Barrybudden gates, and we had a few beers. 2 each. I then said to them...
These are the recruits?
Yeah. They were both 26 and 27, but this is a fact. And I always, whenever I got back to battalion, I still get on them to this day. And I said, do me a favour, what I want you to do now is go to the guard and book in. When he asks you for ID, just tell him you don't have ID. Your session commander too good for a beer. Simple. Now, Lee, it sounds shitty, but that got me RTU'd.
Yeah.
So I got RTU'd, but my CEO was with me to come back, Tim Collins. Whenever I got back, he made me a section commander with B Company 5 platoon. Anyway, so he did that, and he knew where I was going. But ITC were pissed off at what I'd done.
They knew what you'd done, yeah.
They sent me back not only to ITC, the adjutant was pissed off, and he went, think you're smart? He says, well, tell you what, you're not going back to camp yet. You're now posted to Para Depot in the other camp. And I went, fuck am I doing there? Go and find out. And I had to go and report. At the time, I think the 2IC was Paddy Blair. Now, I got to know him 3 years later, when he became my OC, when I went to work with him for Up Herrick 4.
That's handy then.
So he knew me then, and he got on with me then. And he knew that he then had learnt that this guy just wants a soldier, doesn't give a... But prior to that, he was the captain there, and he called me in one day, and he went, Corporal Coult, stand there. And I'm like, yep. He said, and this is what he did to me. He went, see those 2 tapes? I went, sir, take them off now and give them to me. And I went, what? He says, you realise you're only acting corporal while you're in ITC? I went, all right, okay. I didn't know. I went, whatever. He took them off me and he handed them to a paratrooper Lance Shack. He says, give them to him. He deserves them. And this other guy got promoted right beside me. I was like, cunt. but I did that. I was like, yeah, no dramas. So he made me a Lance Shack and I walked out, and then he made me clean. I think you used to get beasted with shells. He made me go and polish the shells and do all the shitty jobs. Probably it was about 10 days I was there doing dog polish. And I was like, all right. And then after that, he called me in after 10 days. He went, right, your 10 years come to an end. And I'm smiling because I know I'm going back to the unit. He says, but you're not going back to Royal Irish, Lance Corporal Coult. From today, you're posted to the Kirkers and you're going to be helping them out in the stores. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I got beasted. I was fuming. Yeah, but it is what it is. I mean,
how did you get? How did you get returned to your unit in the end? Then, because you obviously went away to Iraq, didn't you? Because if you've
basically, I was getting fucked about by the Gurkhas, and I think it was just a thing to fuck me about in ITC, and I just got pissed off. I got a taxi to Darlington, got on the train, went back to my camp, turned up at the front gate, and went to the RSA. I went, you're not due back yet. I went, I'm not doing that shit and give a fuck. Send me to jail, but I'm not doing that. I'm being used as a fucking arsehole. Anyway, so he says, right, wait there. I think the colonel might be busy. And Tim Collins called me in, and I stood there, saluted and shit. He went, shut the door. RSM, leave us alone. And I'm like, oh no. The door gets shut and he went, grab a seat. He says, you are a dickhead, you know that, don't you? I went, sir, I wanted to go and do this. And he went, yeah. He says, well, we're short of commanders in B Company. You're going to 5 platoon. John Miller's your sergeant major. And I went, okay. He's not a bad lad, John Miller. And I went, okay. He says, that's where you're going. He says, but you got bussed. I says, yeah, they bussed me down again. He went, well, I'm going to promote you now again. And I went, all right. And I went to went out to the Gulf, and it was an experience. I don't think we achieved. I know different units did different things, but I don't think Royal Irish achieved much out there. We were just, I mean, everyone kept surrendering, and throwing flowers on the wagons. It was nice to see parts of Iraq and just experience it, but we just drove around the desert for fucking 6 weeks looking for a fight. Couldn't find one.
But you're an MC, aren't you? You got awarded the MC. Was that that was in Iraq, wasn't it?
It was, but that was 2005.
Oh, so that was a different. That was the later one then. So that was the
Telic 7, and it was unusual.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and what happened there? Was there a big difference between the earlier tour there and the later one? It was meant to be quite different, wasn't it? More fighting.
Oh yeah, I mean, the very first Telic for me, and everyone has different stories, but for me, I found it driving around the desert, not achieving much, gaining ground clearly, but taking prisoners, collecting piles of weapons, and I didn't fire a shot in the Gulf War. Didn't. Hardly anyone in my unit did. I haven't heard anyone that had. But as the Telics progressed, the insurgencies had kicked in clearly, and the different pockets of enemies, different types of enemies, and you had we now know it as improvised explosive devices, but back there was a thing called explosive projectile, EFPs and stuff, and which vehicles and roadside bombs. It was terrible. Telic got bad after the war. The war was the easiest. The weird thing is the war was the easiest part for most people. It was the insurgencies that were bad. But I was back out there in Telic 7. We did different we went into a place called it was a circle. We did different jobs. We did rear idler. We did escort drills. We did force protection. We did a 6 to 8 week stint up in Baghdad doing force protection for General Richard Houghton, who was his 3-star general. So we did different tasks. We all did it. And I can't remember the name of the camp, actually. There we go. But we were about to do our stint in Baghdad. So what would happen is the OC would grab 3 people. He would say, we're heading to Baghdad to do a recce, to come back and brief the troop because we're next to go up there. Okay. He says, and Trevor Coult, I want you to go up there and I want you to look at the accommodation for the troops, look what's the deal with the troops, go out on some of the patrols, take notes, take photographs of everything. And when we get back here, I want you to sit down with all the commanders of C Company and I want you to give them a brief of what you've seen and what the routine is. And I went, okay, I can do that, no dramas. But then when I got up there, I was doing that. And I said, and then they said, right, Speedy, you're in the rear wagon. We were going, if you can call it a routine patrol. They call it routine patrol, but nothing's ever fucking routine. Your eyes are like that, checking everything. But I was in the rear snatch of like 6 vehicles. And we were heading from BSU, Baghdad Support Unit, and we were going to, was it Camp Victory? I think it was Camp Victory. So we had to go out onto Royal Irish. Royal Irish. Don't know why they named it that. Maybe because it was a shithole. But that's only joke. But we were heading out onto the road, and I was in the rear wagon. I'd been briefed about the uncleared flats, the different numbers of the bridges, where the possible threat would come from. And so I knew it. And I was doing top cover. And I remember my arcs were from 12 to 6. I think Little Tam Dalby was from 6 round to 12. And we were both facing different ways. And as we were driving out, we noticed that the other side of the road, there was nothing. But there was a white Nissan-type Datsun car sitting below, near a bridge, but below it. So we clocked that on the way out, and we're all these things. We got in, and we were doing an escort for one of the vehicles and things to do with the General's personal protection team. And we did what we had to do. We picked up a drops wagon, which had a brand new, I believe it had a brand new armoured vehicle for the General. And we were bringing it back to BSU. And on the way back, I remember the PRRs are shit because no one can talk in a PRR. Everyone has to scream, and it pisses me off. You had to have it up here just to listen to it because everyone's screaming. And I remember going vehicle, blah blah, and I'm like, okay. And then I was looking from 12 through to 6, and I wasn't getting drawn into the bullshit because I know that the guys can deal with it. The guys can. We've got good guys here; they can deal with it. And I heard a gunshot, and then I heard another gunshot, and I heard another gunshot. And I'm like, so there was an engagement from the very front snatch, which did a good job and engaged this wagon. Now, they were trying to tell the wagon to stop because the wagon started reversing, the car started reversing towards our convoy. And the front wagon had stopped and give its warnings. And then the car sped up backwards towards the convoy. And that's when the front vehicle dealt with the threat. Now, I got an MC from this. I'm in a rear vehicle. I'm away from all this. So I would like to point out that I did not raid myself up. Someone else did. But what happened was I noticed that there was something happening at the front and I just kept looking out. I was able to spot, and I'll say 2 individuals coming across from a building, and they started to engage the convoy. That's what I spotted. I shouted on the PR because no one can talk. I got the PR on, I explained what I was seeing, and I engaged it. And I fired until the threat stopped. They were trying to shoot the vehicles because we were sort of stuck in a killing area, and a vehicle in front of us had stalled. I mean, the shit had hit the fan. And I asked our driver to move round to the side of the stalled vehicle to deflect incoming rounds from them so they could get out of the killing area, and we were able to get that vehicle away, and we were able to come back. Now, to me, that's nothing. That is just a day at the office. There's nothing special there. And that was it. Now, the weird thing is, that has been the biggest pain in my arse ever since, because people used to say to me, now, first of all, I'll explain when we got back into camp, we had to count our rounds. We did all different bits and pieces. We all had to go to the guardroom individually and explain what had happened from our own perspective. And everyone did it. Everyone had to do it. One guy changed magazines. don't know why to this day. I can't work on a professional level. I can't work out why you would have to fire off 30 rounds when you didn't need to, right?
Yeah, if you get a contact though, if you get a contact, you've not had many before. Well, anytime people just want to get as many rounds down as possible as you can get away with. Let's be honest. But, you know what I mean?
I know, but when I was in the garden, it was like a judge. It was like when you had the OC there, the sergeant major there, the C2, the int officer. You had all Southerners, and they were like writing notes down. Okay, Corporal Coult, tell me what you've seen. I explained that. I says, tell me what happened. I says, well, there was an incident. All I said was, I now know more, but I said there was an incident at the front of the convoy, and it was dealt with by the front wagon. What did you do? I says, I remained looking out at my arcs. I noticed 2 men moving across, and they started setting up gun and engaging. What did you do? I believe I fired, I can't remember. I think I fired 6 rounds, sir. Why did you fire 6 rounds? Because then I had eliminated the threat. Oh. I said, I didn't need to fire any more rounds. The threat was gone. Okay. Then what did you do? Got on the PRR, spoke to my driver, and we got the vehicles around. Okay. Off you go. Now, I forgot all about this. Dealt with. I am in Sangin, and on the 6th of September, like, bear in mind, this was
years later then. Yeah, years later.
This because I went from Telic 7.
Yeah.
Which I got back from Telic 7 February 06.
Okay. Oh, in 06, which is the same year you went then over to Afghan in Sangin.
So, yeah, so January, February 06. Then I was in Colchester. March 06 in Panic Day, I was in Oman. And then April, I was in Sangin. So
busy old year.
So but I loved it though.
Yeah, what a year, yeah.
I know. So September the 6th, I'm sitting in the little orchard in Sangin, pomegranates growing and stuff. And a Taliban fire mortar comes in, and my 2IC passes away, and loads of stuff happens, and my platoon sergeant gets injured. We have about 6 or 7 casualties.
That was quite an event that occurred there. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, rather than skirting over that? Would you mind going into a bit more detail about that one?
What had happened was probably for about a week or 2 weeks prior to this incident, the Taliban were doing halving and bracketing with mortars. They were firing mortars landing outside the front of camp. They were firing mortars landing outside the back of camp. They were zeroing in for weeks.
Yeah.
But and then they had this wonderful strike in the middle of one of our little platoon groups. My platoon commander was on R&R. My platoon sergeant, Spencer, had stepped up to platoon commander. Davy Strain, great full screw, had stepped up to platoon sergeant. I was still, so at the time I was the senior full screw in the platoon, below the other ranks. And then we were sitting there, and now this is why I have a little bit of regret, because the day before I was in Sanger 4 in Sangin as a commander, all full screw stag though. You did it. And I remember looking at the front gate in Sangin, and I seen my section 2IC walking towards his position. And you may not like this, but this is how I was. He wasn't wearing a t-shirt. He was wearing a pair of shorts. He was wearing flip-flops. He had his body armor open, walking like this, helmet strap hanging down, rifle over his shoulder, cigarette. And it fucking pissed me off. Okay, I don't care. It pissed me off. Unprofessional. And that's how I was. I wasn't the best professional, but we were at a place where you could be killed at an instant. Okay, and I bullied them, and I couldn't wait to get off stag. And I got off stag. I went and seen him. I grabbed him. Like, I said, "What the fuck are you playing at? Fucking get a grip of yourself. Go back. If you can't dress properly, then I'm going to make you wear combats. Full combat. I don't mind you wearing shorts. Don't mind you wearing stuff. But I want the body armor done up when you're on duty. I want you the helmet strap done up." And I give him a bollocking. And he died the following day. So, I mean, I had that little bit of regret. Did I do the right thing? Am I a bully? Am I this? So it just, all these things played on my mind, mate. And
what you're doing there is it's tough love. You're doing it. You're a professional. It's like when a parent, chastises their child for kind of running out in the road. And, you must, if you've got kids and they ever do that, you go on them hard, don't you? Because you want to really upset them so they never ever do that again. And that's all you were doing. Like you said, you're in a war zone. It's being unprofessional. You know, he wouldn't have thought anything of it and
I know,
thought badly.
But all these things started manifesting.
Yeah, of course it will.
Head.
That's 100% natural to feel that way. Bloody hell, you 2IC as well. I'm sure you're probably quite close with him. But as you know in the army, you're close with someone. And then if they're under you and they fuck up, you've got to give them a bollocking as well. And then the next day, or the next moment, it's gone, and you just move forwards from that point. And you,
I know,
yeah.
And so that happened the day before. I bollocked them. I punched him in the chest, not hard, but punched him in the chest.
Yeah,
and
standard. That's a standard bollocking in the 90s and early 2000s, isn't it?
I know. The following day, Spencer had called us in, and he went, "Right, fellas, it's gonna be that time again." And what he meant was, just after 5, fellas, the call to prayer is going to happen. Once the call to prayer is finished, we get attacked. It happens every night for like 100 nights. We get attacked from the position, so make sure your shit's squared away, get around. So as he was giving that brief, we just heard the, I'm like, what the fuck? And then we didn't have time. Like, bear in mind, we were sitting in the orchard. We didn't have our helmets on. Our body armors were, some guys were, I didn't have mine on. Some of the guys had theirs on. And the mortar landed about 15 meters behind us, and the shrapnel just went woof. And the weird thing was, I was sitting with my back against a tree, which had shrapnel in the back of it, which should have taken me. Luke was sitting on my right, my 2AC, and another Landshack was sitting on my left, a guy called Stella. Well, McCartney, known as Stella McCartney. And I remember he had his body armor on, but it was open. I looked down at my 2AC, and he was lying on his side with a spoon still in his mouth. He was eating his hot pot still. But the thing was, I had sort of lost my hearing a bit. It was just filled with, I couldn't see anything. I was like, when I looked down at the combats, there was blood on the combats. Didn't know what was going on. The truth is, I went into battle shock. I went into shock, man. There was loads of stories coming out after this, especially from the young lads in my platoon. Oh, Speedy just sat there. Speedy didn't do anything. He just sat there and watched him die. And these stories got back to his mother, that his commander sat and watched his son die and didn't do anything. So this has manifested in me for years. It makes me angry, mate, to think that soldiers would think that I would sit there and just watch someone die. I mean, it's pathetic. But the truth is, I went into shock. My arm was shaking. My hand never stopped shaking for 2 days after that. Part of his skull came off. The other guy beside me, the shrapnel went to his back, and part of his abdomen was hanging out the front. And he was in shock. And I looked at him, and I just looked at him, and I went, and all I did was, I used his t-shirt. Sounds shitty now doing it, but I just pushed it back in, and I did his body armor up. And I said, mate, you need morphine. You need to get a grip of yourself. You need to go over and see the doctor. And Stella got up in shock and walked himself to the fucking medic. You know, my hand was shaking, and
was he okay afterwards? Did he survive?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, he wasn't. This is what Stella did. Stella went back to Bastion and spent, I think it was up to a week in hospital. He was stitched up, looked after. They wanted to send him back to Birmingham. He refused to go, mate. He says, I can't go. No. He says, I want to go back to Sangin. And no, you can't do duties anymore. I don't care about doing duties. I'll go back and just give the boys water. Mate, he flew back out to Sangin just to lift the boys' morale up because we had taken a big hit.
Oh, bloke.
And he stayed there. I mean, he still did duties. He still stagged on. He still did everything. He just couldn't carry weight and shit. And, you know, when that's, to me, that's fucking awesome. That's the type of heroes I want to sort of look up to. I left that tour with a bad taste, and I never really got on with some of my guys after that because word got back to Luke's parents, Luke's mother, that I was a bad commander. I'd beat him up the day before.
Right, okay. So, yeah. So, like, you beat him up and then you just left him for dead. Is that like that's what they're thinking? Yeah. When in reality is you're a section commander who's obviously doing his job with the 2IC, trying to keep your house in order, just which is standard within the military, regardless of what anyone thinks. This is what, especially if you're in a war zone on operations, things are very, very serious, aren't they? And then an unfortunate accident happened, and then you were in, like you said, you're in shock.
truthfully, I've worked with some awesome people, and I'll never put them down. But for me, the word Royal Irish Regiment is a stain now in my mouth. I've never visited, because there's another thing that happened. I went to see Mick Bolden and the OC after we'd found out, a couple of days later, we'd found out Luke had officially been diagnosed. He died on the... Once that came down, Mick Bolden called in Spencer, my platoon sergeant, says, right there, bring me all Luke's kit, bring all his kit in. So we brought it all in. And Mick got me and another full screw. I want you to go through all his kit and take it. This is what he said. Go through his kit, sanitize it. His stuff stays in there. Serialized items, ammunition, and other stuff gets removed. Happy? Yeah. But I had fucking immature idiots in my platoon watching from a distance. And it got back to his mother. Oh, Trevor and this other guy were stealing stuff out of Luke's kit. And I'm like, so I'm being accused of looting of the dead, beating him up. So his mother fucking hates me, mate, to this day. She has trolled me for fucking well over 15 years on social media. She has left a shitty review on my book, First of the Sangin. It's a terrible review. One of the very first 3 reviews. This man's a liar. He's a thief. He stole from my son. He did. And I'm like, and it used to eat away at me. Yeah. It made me miserable, mate. And for years, it made me miserable. And at one stage, I wanted to have it prosecuted. And then I had to take a step back, and I sat down with my parents and all. It sounds awful now. I'm nearly 50. I sat down with my parents back then, and they were like, Trevor, don't. Just leave her.
No, she's a mother that's deeply upset about the loss of her child, and she's going to project that somewhere.
I know, mate. And,
do you know what I mean?
So I've had that to deal with for many years, mate. And to this day, I still do it. To this day, I still get trolled and attacked and accused of everything, all because of... And then it's like, they tried to ride into the MOD and have my gallantry medal taken away from me, saying I wasn't worthy and I lied about my tours. And I've had shit thrown at me that much. I've had more shit than Donald Trump. And I'm like, fuck me, okay. So I am, I'm not now, I'm in a good place, but for years I was very bitter. I was extremely bitter towards veterans, towards anyone. I fell out with Phil Campion over shit. I fell out with people. I just stopped caring about people. After all those years of trying to help veterans, I just gave up on them, and I just went, you know what, bollocks to you all. I mean, and the one thing that really stuck in my mouth was all those, I'm not going to mention their names, but all those veterans used to send me emails and write to me, can I help with this, 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 and I did it. Whenever the shit was being thrown at me, not one of them would say, actually, Trev, help me. Not one of them would do that, and that sort of didn't sit well with me. You know, it's not nice to do. But it's left a bad taste in my mouth, mate.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, you're a good bloke. I've known you for a long time, and I know friends that have known you very well, and and I know you have had some situations, and you're also a very successful and very popular guy on social media. Do you know what I mean? You've published 2 best-selling books. You're gonna be polarizing. You know what I mean? Because that's just the nature of the way, unfortunately, the world is at the moment. Anyone who gets any level of exposure is going to be open to both praise and criticism. But unlike the old days gone by when you may have been in the paper, someone may have been in the paper and you can't hear the responses of people reading, it's quite apparent if someone doesn't like you now, because it can be plastered all over social media and you can have access to it and see it, which can't be very nice, can it? You know?
Well, what was happening to me was, now, I haven't done it in a few years now because I refused to do it. But I used to raise a lot of money in Just Giving for different charities, many. In fact, I actually, if you get in touch with can't remember his name now, H4K, Hereford guy. There was a time when, the old mayor of Hereford is called Jim somebody. Can't remember his second name. Someone out there will probably know this. He got in touch with me and goes, Trevor, I know you're raising money and stuff. Hereford Veterans Club could do with a new type of machine in their gym. And I went, okay, I'll send the money across. And they were like, what? Transferred the money across. They went and bought the machine. Right. And he was like, all right. I didn't realize you could do that. I said, well, I'm raising money for veterans. People donate money to veterans. I can take it and give it to you for that. It's a good cause. I can do it, soldiers off the street. So whenever I was being accused of all this different shit, for instance, some guy contacted me a couple of years ago, out of the blue, don't know where he got my number from. He goes, is that Trevor? I went, yeah. He says, I read your story in the Mirror, and I want to help PTSD resolution. You said they helped you. I went, yeah, they did. They got me back working. And he went, okay, I want to donate £100,000
Wow.
to PTSD resolution. And I went, okay. I says, Brad, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you the number of the CEO and you can contact him directly and tell him what you're doing. So it went in. Sean Raymond wrote a story on it. Kind donation, £100,000 after Trevor Coult, blah, blah. So I put my name to that. I'm not going to lie, I did. I went, there we go. That's another £100,000 that I'd managed to help the charity raise. But little cunts out there did this. Where's the receipts? Where's the receipts, Trevor? And I'm like, what receipts? You see, you haven't got receipts. You're saying you had £100,000. You've got no receipt. I'm like, well, of course you'll have receipts. He gave it directly to the charity. It's been in the paper. The CEO of the charity has written a story saying he's so overwhelmed at the donation. Where's the receipts? You've kept it. And I'm like, so whatever. And then I did a paddleboard challenge for Just Giving for PTSD resolution about 2 years ago with another veteran friend of mine. And I think we raised about 17, 18 grand. I can't remember. How much of that did you keep yourself, Trevor? And I'm like, the charity link is on the page. It goes straight to, the people don't know how this works. It goes straight to the charity. It doesn't come to Trevor Coult. It doesn't go to my bank. But I just, whenever it used to be, he stole 250 grand, he stole this. I just now go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because I've stopped trying to sort of justify it now. I just let people do it. I mean, the amount, not one of these charities has ever said, Trevor, where's the money? They've all had it, so they just ignore it. They go, Trevor, let it happen. But see, when it's just constant, I've just reached a stage where I used to be really upset and it used to affect me. But Lee, now I've reached a stage now where I'm now used to just the shit. So I just.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to be really though, should you? I mean, if there's a problem, surely the charities will pick that up, won't they? And they'll investigate. Do you know what I mean? So it needs to be left to someone who's got an idea of where the money is and where it's been sent, rather than people speculating and then spreading rumours. And once rumours are out, people can echo those rumours as well. Then and a rumour and a belief tends to be as flipping solid as reality, doesn't it? In some people's minds.
I know. I mean, let's be honest, mate. If I was guilty of any of these heinous, disgusting crimes, I would have been jailed many years ago. Because I've been reported every day of the month for about 4 years to the police. And the police are like, we know, we've investigated, we know, we're looking into this one, we know. I mean, I put food on the table at Suffolk Police, you know what I mean? I keep those guys in with the job.
Yeah.
But it is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's good. It's good for you to be able to say your side of stuff as well, then, isn't it? Because when people are commenting and putting stuff up, you can't really defend yourself, can you?
Well, yeah. Well, not on Facebook. Yeah.
No, that's it. So it's good for you to kind of you say your piece as well while we're speaking. So if anyone has got any doubts, you know, they can look in and hear what you've got to say. Because it's you know you've done a lot for charity. You know what have other people done? If they're not doing anything themselves, you know they need to.
Well, that's another reason why I think I get a lot of shit. I used to get a lot of people asking for help for different things, and I would look into it, and if I didn't think it, in my opinion, if I didn't think it was worthy, then I would just ignore it, and that used to piss people off. I had one guy contact me and said, "Hi Trev, you helping veterans?" Excuse me, but it depends. I do a little bit. Well, I'm thinking of trying to help veterans with mental health. I want to run a cycle school and get veterans out and get them cycling and go and do little bits of excursions and stuff. I mean, that sounds really good. And I was wondering if you could give me maybe $5 or $6 grand to buy the bikes. I went, you want me to give you money to buy bikes so you can set up a business to help? I said, fuck off.
It's not a charity for charities, is it? It's a charity for veterans.
Oh, that's because you're a fucking scammer, Trev, isn't it? Now you only help yourself. And I'm like, what? So this guy took offense to me and started attacking me online. And I was like, I won't. I know who he is, but I just went, mate, do you write down what you've just said to me and read it back to yourself? I mean, You want me to set up a business for you so you can get government grants to help veterans? What do I get the grant from to help you? I said, I'm on a war pension. I don't get big money.
Yeah.
Oh, but you do stuff on the TV. I don't get paid for it, you prick. Everything I do, I don't get paid for this. You may think I do, I don't. And Sean Raymond, good journalist actually, and in the past, whenever I used to do stories him every time, I think there was one month, and if Sean watches this, hopefully he'll comment. I never used to ask Sean for a penny. I was doing it for what I thought was the right reasons, to try and implement some changes to kick people in the arse to fix veterans. But there was 1 month leading up to Christmas. Sean knew I was tight because not tight skint. I was just because I was paying for had a marriage breakdown. I was still paying for I was still paying rent in my ex-wife's house and my own new rent, and I was struggling. And 1 month, I think Sean gave me 500 quid. He went, Trev, there's £500 now. I don't want it. No, you've helped me do hundreds of stories over the years. He says, and you know what? I don't need it. Just go and buy your son something. So Sean, give me. And I was over the moon. I was like, well, thanks, Sean. I appreciate it. But there you go. So I'm always weary though, because I know, and other people know, that if there's enough mud thrown at me, they can try and get my gouger medal taken off me bring it into disrepute and all this here shit. So I've had people write in and try and get my medal taken off me.
That's terrible, isn't it? Yeah. Even if something has gone on anyway, I think they're isolated and separate incidents. Then they have not. It's like in law, if you have done broken one law, and then you broke another totally different one, they don't actually have anything to do with each other, do they? Because they're separate, kind of incidents. So even if there was, it's nothing to do with it, in my opinion. So we're nearly running out of time now, mate. So just before we finish, if it's okay with you, can you just quickly, you've got 2 books out, haven't you? You're doing extremely well in social media with a YouTube channel. There we go. So the 2 books, you got First Into Sangin and Exploration. I just want to overview both of those books quickly, what their accounts are.
First Into Sangin was a book that I wrote after, basically, my mental health had taken a dive. I was falling apart. I told you all the things that was happening with me, and I don't know. I wasn't used to having that feeling of being broken, and I thought writing everything down would help get it out, and it did. So First Into Sangin was a book I wrote to clear my head of all this shit, and
quite cathartic to do it, I suppose.
It was hard, but I also didn't. I never sent it in to any journalists. In fact, I'll tell you what I did. I didn't know. Because I know you Sunday Times release, I didn't know what to do. So what I did was I sent my book to James Deegan. Won't mention his name. Nearly said the other thing. Sent my book to James Deegan and Phil Campion, Patrick Bury, and Bob Shepherd. And I know Bear Grylls isn't a big military guy, but kids love him. So I got him to do reviews as well. And I put the reviews on. The second book I wrote, Exploitation, was a book that I needed to do to sort my own head out, because I realised after a while that exploitation has a double meaning. It means not only us bringing in captured insurgents for exploitation, interrogation, it also was to do with the fact that how it all came together when I realised that we were being used to... Politicians were exploiting the military to achieve their own political objectives by sending us to places which we didn't really need to be, putting troops' lives in line. So it's a bit about that as well, where I worked in the intelligence exploitation force in Afghanistan, having left the infantry side of it to go and work in the rear echelon side of it as looking after captured insurgents and Taliban and stuff. It was an eye-opener to what we do, how we bend over backwards to help the most evilest people out in the world. We then pay them money and we say we're sorry for your time and we shouldn't have kept you.
It's crazy, isn't it? You can see this. You can see this in politics as well, can't you? Now I've seen it. Politics. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It seems to be totally unfair that if you're a decent person and you're trying, if you do anything wrong, you are absolutely reprimanded with the full power of the law. And if you're a criminal and especially repeating criminals or terrorists or whatever, they just get let off with everything and almost begged and give money and opportunities funding and all sorts. But people are unaware of that, aren't they?
Massively. I mean, as I said, I worked in the different Afghanistan holding centres where the high value targets were kept, and I had the board where each of their capture numbers, who captured them, what call sign, we had it all. And when they were being transferred to Lashtigar for the courts. And I went away and came back, and I actually was called in by Mark Urban to do an interview about this on Spotlight. I came back in, I don't want to mention the lady's name again because it's not nice, but I came back in to discover that an individual that was captured by using DNA and biometrics, who was linked to the bomb which killed a British captain, was let out early and sent back to their village as a goodwill gesture leading up to Christmas.
Wow.
That's how our politicians work, man. And it disgusted me. And whenever I spoke out about that and I started challenging that, a file was made of me, which I now know, which currently sits at MI5.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Because I'm a threat. Yeah, well, now you know I'm
terrorist.
A threat to the yeah, also, yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrorist. Well, I could probably do a whole other podcast with you just on that, to be honest with you, Trevor. But listen, thank you very, very much for your time today. I know you're a busy guy. You're a great guy to speak to as well. You got very charismatic and funny and a vast amount of experience. You've been on 9 or 10 operations, I believe, something ridiculous, isn't it? So, and you're obviously a decorated man as well, and you've had many highs and lows as well within your career. So it's been a real pleasure to speak to you. So just wanted to say thank you very much.
Well, thanks, buddy. I will end by saying that I always was Her Majesty the Queen's favourite ginger. But it's mate, have a wonderful day and hope we get the shot again soon. And thanks Dylan and the guys in the background for helping us sort this out because I'm a clusterfuck. Thank you.
Thank you. You take care, buddy. Bye.